Live. So, morning, Boston buddies. Welcome to brunch again. Today is Thursday. We have a very special guest with us today. Iain Hook, the London Marathon race director, is joining us today. Hey, Iain, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good, good. How's everything over in London these days in these trying times?
Excellent running.
Excellent running.
Oh, the streets are so empty. No, look, wherever you are in the world, it's challenging times.
Yeah.
But what I think I said to you a few moments ago is there is a sense of community engagement where people are coming together, doing all sorts of fantastic things. And I just hope once all this finishes, that community spirit remains. It's a bit like in terms of London in the Second World War. So there's that real identity of spirit. So yeah, we are where we are.
I agree. It's almost, whenever there's events like this where people struggle and they have to pull themselves together, they come out stronger.
Yep.
It's not much different in 2013 with the bombings of Boston. 2014, we came out stronger. Even 2018, it wasn't nearly as tragic as all this, but the crazy weather we had, we all came out of there stronger, I think.
I'm still shivering when you talk about it.
Yes. Yeah, you're in the book, the Boston Buddies book. I appreciate your story.
There it is.
Nice.
For you who haven't got it, buy it.
So yeah, I guess some of the questions that are on everybody's mind, obviously, is the marathon and the London Marathon. And Germany yesterday announced, or a couple of days ago announced, obviously, that they weren't going to allow gatherings of more than 5,000 people. So it's basically the government essentially is controlling whether or not Berlin's marathon's happening. Do you have any updates from your government or anything that you could talk about for London Marathon?
What I would say is that, there is a revised date for it. I would say that people should watch the social media network and the news and the Virgin London Marathon website for updates. We are governed like Boston, Chicago, New York, all marathons around the world from what government direction is. And that can be through what the scientists and the medical people are saying. Those who may have listened to the Scottish leader today has been talking about her government's exit strategy, what that might look like, but they're not putting a timetable on it. But they do talk about mass participation events not happening straight away. So it's probably not the message Boston buddies want to hear.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when speaking with our colleagues at government, daily, weekly, for updates, listening to what's going on. But we have a situation, as you know, regarding London, where the Expo does all the registration is being used as the Nightingale Hospital. So lots and lots of thoughts and challenges. We've got an all-day conference calls tomorrow. So we are directed like you guys. Our concerns are for those people who are working in the NHS and all the care services, emergency services. Our thoughts are with those people who want to be out running and training, because people need to be putting in the mileage to get those runs in. And then we've got a duty of care to you as runners, to spectators. So what does the field look like? What does the field look like for emergency services who have been working flat out? Is the capacity? So we have an excellent team of people, same as Boston, Chicago, all the marathons, great people. And it's about working with those to get it right. And of course, Vince, the big thing is a number of your runners, Boston Buddies, run for charities.
Yep.
And on Sunday, we would have been potentially running a marathon where charities would get £66 million.
Right.
So the charities are taking a big hit. And London Marathon, in conjunction with a number of other partners, launch on Sunday the 2.6 initiative. So you can run 2.6, skip 2.6, and to raise funds for those charities which have been affected. So I probably waffled on too much, but it's challenging. It's challenging times, and of course you have the elite field, and what happens to those runners? What happens into the cycle of the next year and the Olympics? So there's lots going on. So all I can say to people is keep the faith, but you know it's challenging. I can't say we're going to run the 4th of October. Could we be running next April? Well, yeah, let's hope so.
Right. Who knows? But yeah, you bring up a good point about the charity, 66 million. You know, they rely on that for their budgets and everything else that they do throughout the year.
And this initiative, which is being launched mainly for the UK, it's another way of getting those charities, getting those people behind them to try and support those great charities which do so phenomenally well.
Is there a website or something where people that want to support can sign up?
Yeah, no, it's on the London Marathon and Facebook. It's called 2.6, and you'll find it there. So it's going to hopefully help some charities and gets people doing things, doesn't it? Even if you get a bat and ball and you get a ball and hit it on the bat for 26 times, just gets people motivated.
Just do something. Just get moving. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
We were talking with Catherine Switzer, and she's got that same message. You know, she's on Thursday. She has a broadcast with her team, and they do exercises and things like that just to keep people moving. That's so important these days. Just get up. Just even walk around.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at home every day, and I try and get up at least once an hour just to move.
Yeah.
Exactly. So important. So maybe can we go back a little bit further and let's hop off the London Marathon for a little bit and get into you and your background.
Okay. So my background is my parents met in the war. My father was a Kiwi, came over and flew in this country over occupied Germany and elsewhere. I met my mother pushing her out of an airplane. She was an operator in France in the war. And believe it or not, my mother is 98 today.
Oh, God bless her. Happy birthday.
Well, it's mixed at the moment because she's got the virus.
Wow.
So she's struggling, but it's that era where they have this sense of, don't give up and keep going. So my parents met. My father was training to be an architect in Christchurch, New Zealand. They went back to New Zealand after the war, and I came along. And my father then qualified as an architect, but missed flying. He missed the Air Force. So my parents then came back to the UK. And I then spent some years in this country being educated. But then I went back to New Zealand to complete my schooling. And I think that kind of gave me an opportunity of enjoying the outdoors. In New Zealand, it's cricket, rugby, or athletics.
And climbing, right?
Yeah. And so I then came back to this country. I did a degree in meteorology. but I discovered that I didn't have a face or a voice for television.
Well, you look good now.
Well, less said, I think. So I then went and worked for the British Antarctic Survey, doing meteorology,
Okay.
assignments. But because I was doing lots of climbing, I got the opportunity when I finished that assignment to go off and climb all over the world. So I then became someone who would go on expeditions and kind of assisted them in terms of met forecasting. And that was good fun. I mean, today it's all done by laptops, cell phones, or whatever.
Right.
So I was able to get on a number of expeditions, and then sadly I had a climbing accident, quite a serious one, lost a lot of friends in climbing. And my career changed, and my career changed in the sense that I went into government.
Okay.
Would I have gone down that route at the beginning? No, I wouldn't. But you learn very, very quickly in government terms, even in those years ago, about dealing with pressure, dealing with different individuals in communities, and politics. Local politics can be damned hard as well as national politics.
Yeah.
And so I became heavily involved in that. I specialised later on in emergency planning. So
Okay.
Dealing with major incidents like plane crash, flooding, bad weather conditions, terrorism events.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of does a quick snapshot right through to working in London. And I joined the London Marathon board, 20 years ago, Vince, 20 years ago.
Yep.
And it's quite ironic, really, in the sense that Chris Braysher and John Disley were the co-founders of the London Marathon. They went to New York and other cities to see how their races ran.
Okay.
We thought, yeah, London Marathon would be to have a London race, which would give the country something to get involved in. And so there was established the London Marathon. But the thing is, with Disley and Braysher, is that they were both Olympians, but they were very capable individuals in the sense that they were both on the reserve list to go to Everest in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So by then, John Disley, if you haven't read his books, he's a very, very interesting character. But John and I became very, very close friends. And he sadly passed away a few years ago. But there was that connection of my climbing, his skills in climbing and canoeing and all the other things. And so I've been with London 20 years. It's seen significant changes, as you expect. People always say to the staff, well, what do you do the day after the London Marathon? Well, as you well know, we have a ballot, and we have a half marathon in March. We have the Vitality Weekend, which is the Westminster Mile on the Mall in London, the 10K around London. We have a city race in July. In August, kind of complements the Tour de France, which has been moved now.
Right.
But we have Prudential Ride London over a weekend. We have a swim event in the Swim Serpentine, so Hyde Park, if you fancy going down there.
Okay.
And so we have a broad range of events. I've mentioned the 2.6 challenge. So London Marathon is kind of, well, it's not kind of, it has a charitable status. So it has the opportunity to raise funds for the charitable status. And those funds are then given out to organisations to do things, and it could be a repair or repairing a sports pavilion, or excuse me,
Ah,
it's just Boris on the phone.
I thought it was Big Ben, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. So it's, I think that the other good thing is that we looked at the world majors,
Mhm.
and we brought the world majors through. Now, on a personal note, I hadn't done any running since school until the 60s, until I was in my 60s.
Right.
And you know, if you go to an event and people say, you know, you're at the London Marathon week, so how many marathons you run? You know, you must be pretty damn good. And you look at them a bit sheepish and say, you know, I haven't run a marathon.
Right.
I haven't run a half marathon. I haven't, you know, a 5 or 10K. And it was at the time, and I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I felt I needed a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I needed something to take my mind off going for the treatment. And I can remember it, for instance, like it was yesterday. So I thought, well, I'll just enter a couple of our half marathons.
Mm-hmm.
And now you remember I had this climbing accident, so I have a restricted ankle, and it's difficult. But I thought, well, if I can run 13 miles, I should be able to run 26, shouldn't I, Iain?
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
You see, this was my. So I did that, and I spoke to Nick Patel, our chief executive. I said, look, Nick, I said, you know, the world majors we're involved in. I said, I think it would be quite good if I tried to see if I could run any of them,
Mm-hmm.
and see if I could get a 6-star medal. And I said, I'm going to do New York. And I think he was in his chair and he just leaned back and he said, okay, are you sure about this? I said, yeah, no problem. Well, you know what New York is like. And I think everyone who's listening to this broadcast will always say, well, Boston's harder than New York, or New York is harder than Chicago, you know.
Right. They're all hard.
Yeah. And I did New York. And I thought, okay. And then I got into Tokyo and knocked 3/4 off my time.
Wow.
So I felt within a short period of time, I was put in the running. So I was going through all of this, and my treatment finished a week before Berlin Marathon. So I was on to Berlin, and then Chicago so many weeks later. Now I'd done all the world majors in the 17 months. Okay.
Right. You started running, and within 17 months, you had knocked off all 6 majors out.
Yeah, I mean, I got to Berlin, and just before I finished my treatment, they said, oh, you won't be doing any running, will you? You need to recover now. I said, yeah, no problem. Anyway, I ran, and
You ignored them.
I was ill. I was poorly. I mean, if people know the likes of Chris Miller, who's the guy behind Abbott,
Mm-hmm.
they would tell you I was ill. I shouldn't have ran, but I got a PB on that day. Okay, flat course weather was fine, and I can then remember getting my 6 stars in Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a magical moment. And that's why I have this affinity with Boston Buddies. I've got huge respect for Tom and Dave and the guys at Boston, the community aspect to it all. So I did it all, got the first world major. For me, I was very pleased.
Yep.
I thought, okay, that's it now. And then for some unknown reason, I went and did them all again.
Right. You're a 2-time finisher. Yeah.
finishing in, Boston again, and going through those conditions, those weather conditions.
Yep.
And would I go around again the third time? Well, I've done Chicago, and I was supposed to have been doing Boston and London. But you know what? It's not how many times you go round, it's what you give back, isn't it? So I've been very blessed, been very lucky, very fortunate, and to have learnt and listened to so many people. And, I go out and to these races, and people always say, yeah, London's always the hardest to get into. Well, you can get into London. You just got to have some faith and find a charity or whatever.
Right.
And probably people in Boston Buddies would probably disagree, but there is, various things and various initiatives, and we're looking to try and do things a bit different. And
right.
Anyway, I'll stop there because probably I've rambled on, and I don't want to bore people.
No, you're not. No, this is great. This is great. I guess, yeah. How did you get into London? Could you just get in, or were you in the lottery?
You'd not believe this, but I've got through on the lottery.
Did you?
In fact, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, lottery, and yeah, I'd be honest. I've been fortunate to know people who allowed me to get into Boston. I wouldn't have qualified, but I think that I give back to the running community. It will be interesting to see where the world majors go next.
Yep.
And I'm sure you and your colleagues in Boston Buddies will be saying, well, what's next? Where's the next movement in the world majors? And I think you can see the evidence that we've done, what was to be in London in April, the Abbott Championship Series as well.
Right.
And of course, London was involved in the 1:59.59 with Elliot,
Yes.
in Berlin.
Yeah, just a few. Yeah, back in October.
Hugh Braysher and Nick and all the staff did a phenomenal job of getting that race.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Freudian slip. Get that event and Elliot.
Yep.
And the publicity to it. So yeah, lots going on.
Yeah. So this is supposed to be what, the 40th year for London? Is that correct? Is this year 40?
40th running
Right.
of the race, yeah.
And
of
you've been
course,
with them 20. You've been there half the time, basically.
Yeah, doesn't seem that long, but yeah, it's. But I like to think that we're very blessed to be in these roles on boards, and it's very humbling, it's very privileged, and I hope that my legacy will have shown some evidence that in the running community we've gone about things and tried to be honest and given back to the community through grants. And you see some very tragic stories, but some very heroic people.
Right.
Right. You see people who have come through major illnesses, health problems, people who love children, spouses.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I always say, that most of a lot of the people in our group, they had some type of event that caused them to start running, some tragic event. Yeah. And
you will see through this pandemic that you will know someone who's died from it. Mm-hmm. You will know or hear of someone you close to, a friend, like my mother. It's going to have an impact on people's lives, their mental well-being,
right?
Health. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. But I mean, this year it's about 66 million you guys are going to raise. When did you guys start the charity?
66.4. 66.4. So when we've raised over £1 billion for good causes from the London Marathon Trust.
Was it originally set up to be like it seems like London is mostly geared towards charity? You guys raised the most, I think, out of all of them. Was it always geared that way?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if you saw more evidence of charitable running in other major marathons. I think people will want to start doing that. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Remember, each marathon has its own pillars, its own philosophy and what it wants to do. And that's quite right. London went down the route with Chris and John. They looked at New York, they looked at other marathons. They felt that there was a product, if you look for a better word. They felt that there was a course in London if they could get the right people involved. And London it's full of partners, because you have a course of 26.2, but you're governed by Greenwich, you're governed by the Mall with the Royal Parks, who want the park back at a certain time on the Sunday evening. You've got the Met Police, you've got the City Police, you've got huge infrastructure. So London Marathon used to finish over Westminster Bridge, but now it has a fantastic backdrop. And how many times can you say you've run London and you've come out of, Parliament Square, you go along Birdcage Walk, and there's that kind of deadly silence. And then you just finish Birdcage Walk and you do a turn to the right, and then on your left-hand side is Buckingham Palace. And then you go round the fountain, and then you're on that home straight. And behind you, you've got Buckingham Palace. I think I could be a good tour guide here, couldn't I?
You're selling it well.
And then you run up the Mall, and there's Admiralty Arch and Trafalgar Square. So what I would say, there's a lot of iconic features on the London Marathon course. You start off at Greenwich, you see the Cutty Sark. And people say to me, oh, do you remember that at Cutty Sark? I can't even remember running past Cutty Sark. You're so focused, aren't you? But we like to think that London has quite an interesting backdrop, but equally the spectators come out in their force, and you see them out there in their chairs, and and it gets good TV coverage. BBC do a cracking job. Good BBC. Plug for the BBC.
You guys seem to also attract the people who always want to break a Guinness World Record dressed as a costume of some sort.
Oh, you know what? I've seen them. You do know Silverstone? Silverstone is a Northampton race track for motor cars. They do the F1 there. And we used to do the half marathon there, and I've ran on that when it's been snows, all seasons. But that's where we used to say, if you want to come as a waiter with 6 glasses on the tray, then you have to do the half marathon. If you want to dress up in a huge Big Ben costume, it needs to be tested. So so we have lots of Guinness and some incredible feats. I don't know, people running backwards, incredible.
Yeah, you see them, I don't know how they do it. You see them running with these big contraptions attached to their body, whether it's Big Ben, like you were saying, or something else, or just as a dinosaur.
Or the fridge on the back of someone running with a fridge on his back, another guy ran in a diver's suit. Now, I just think about that and think, as your Boston buddies are probably, well, I'm training to do the marathon, whatever time it is. If you're going to run 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever the time is. But then these guys are putting these costumes on and running it. I mean, I don't know how they do it. Well, they do it, of course they do it, but the amount of stamina, training, we get some odd people and some odd requests which get turned down as well. But
you have to get permission to
we need to know that they're not going to endanger themselves, spectators, other runners. Can you imagine running a marathon now with all of us having to distance of 2 meters? you know, and these guys have got huge costumes on, but yeah. So there's a validation process, and you know, they're running, but equally they're running for maybe a charity as well.
Yeah.
So we want to get it right for them, the charity and the media.
Yeah. Gary Finelli was on the program earlier. He was one of the earliest guys to dress in costume back in like the early 80s. He was the Blues Brothers guy. He running the marathon in the suit. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see it all over. You see it all over.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
So you talked about the London Marathon. They have a charitable trust, right? And you're part of that. And Prince Harry, is he part of that as well?
Well, Prince Harry is a patron of the London Marathon.
Okay, nice.
He's a patron.
Okay.
And he's so he does that. He's still committed. He's obviously in California, but he wants to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Our chairman, Sir John Sperling, talks to him regularly via Zoom and team. So he gets an understanding, awareness, but he's a family man. He's established himself in another country.
Right.
But yeah, he's patron. He has a period of life. It's not for life, and he will decide if he's going to then move on or whatever. But we like him involved in the marathon. He has a resonance with the military people who work on the day,
mm-hmm.
the volunteers, and if you see him working on the day, you know, he's very committed to it. And remember, Heads Up was his initiative with Prince William and Prince Kate on
mm-hmm.
mental health.
Yep.
So again, we're very, very blessed to have him as our patron.
Has he ever run it? He a runner?
You know what? We, on a personal note, we had a long chat, Harry and I, when I got my 6-star medal, and we talked about it, but the security would be just absolutely 6 in line to the fro. We had Prince Andrew's daughter run it in a team mm-hmm. costume like a dragon. It just puts an enormous amount of work on the PR team, the staff, the police. So I think he would run, if he did the training, he would do very well, you know. But
yeah, it would just be
I've thrown the challenge down, but you know, he just wouldn't pick it up. I said, I'd give you my 6-star medal, but no.
Well, he's still pretty young, you know. This is almost an old man's sport, you know.
Yeah, well, 68 this year. I think I've still got a few marathons left in me if I can stay injury free.
You have to challenge them and put up a challenge for charity and say, hey, you know, pick a charity, you pick a charity and see who wins.
Yeah, we will. We'll see. I've got to keep injury free, and when in challenging times, and the important thing to us is to support the running community.
Right. Yeah, I've seen previous London's marathons where Kate has been there handing out medals and stuff at the finish. Yeah. That's what I still have Tokyo and London to do. I want to do Tokyo first, and I want London to be my last. And I want Kate to give me my medal.
You know, that Kate and the two Duke and Duchess don't go every year.
Right.
It was for a special occasion. It would be Harry.
Okay.
In attendance. But equally on the board, we have Peter Phillips, who is Princess Anne's son.
Okay.
And he gives a wonderful contribution in the terms of his contacts, and he's a marketing guy as well. So yeah, so the royal family are involved, and Harry keeps the Duke and Duchess aware. And if you recall, a couple of years ago, the Queen set it off from Windsor Castle.
Oh yeah.
You know, on her front garden, so to speak.
Right.
So yes, so I think the London Marathon will continue to excite people to run it. I hope so. I hope that the charities will continue. I hope that running and people continue to understand the benefits of running a 5, 10, half marathon or a marathon. And, you know, as I said to you before we went live, I look outside my window in the village and I've never seen so many people running. So health-wise, they're seeing the benefit. I'm just hoping that when people start to say, yeah, we've got to go back to work, it all falls apart and people don't talk to each other on their routes 2 meters apart.
Yeah, I think we'll gain a lot of runners out of this you know, pandemic that's going on right now, or at least I hope so. You know, it's a great sport. So, you know, that's our role, is to try and be an advocate for the sport and invite the people who are hesitant. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, you know, what you do with Boston Buddies is you contribute by giving advice. You're not there to, well, I've just run 2:15 marathon, or I'm the best in the Boston Buddies. I think, you know, I look at the Karen Selby, who lives in Leicester.
Yes.
Delightful lady, gives lots of advice, support. You know, she's there for other people, like all your Boston Buddies. You know, there's no one-upmanships. They're there to listen, offer advice.
Yep.
And I think that's good. It's more of a sense of a togetherness. Other social media platforms, you can have 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 people looking at the London Marathon. But there's a sense of a running community with Boston Buddies. I mean,
yeah, we all share a common goal. Yeah, there's a common goal. There's a common bond between us. And
I think there's probably people there who are never going to get into running Boston Marathon, but they're there and hoping that they're training, they can get the qualifying time. Yeah, good.
And there's always charity, and we support our charity runners. We love our charities. Every Wednesday we do Charity Wednesday, and we the past 3 years we've actually gotten a bib for Boston, and we've basically, all the shirt sales and everything else goes to support the charity runners.
Yeah, no, and that's great. That's cool.
That you brought up Karen Selby. She made it to the 159 challenge. She was there in person.
Yes. Karen was. She was very, very enthusiastic, very supportive, and what more importantly, a very good runner.
Right.
You know, so yeah, but there's, you know, hundreds of other people. I just came to think about Karen just then. I haven't seen her or spoken to her for a while, but I know she's doing okay.
She's doing good. She's coming back. She wanted to take a little break from running this year, but she's coming back.
Yeah, and that's, you know, don't we all Boston Buddies fall in and out of love with running?
Yeah.
You know, you've got a family, you've got children, you've got work pressures, you're under deadlines, and to get up, you know, I always think, Vince, you know, for London Marathon, you've got a race in April, so you're not training at the best times. You're training November, December onwards. That individual may be a single parent, might be unemployed, maybe have mental health issues, but they're going out there, they're doing the training, they're doing their charity work if they're running for a charity. That's the people I kind of think 6 o'clock in the morning, you've got to get up, go out on the road, or even earlier, go out for a run.
Yeah, that's just it.
And it's not a cheap sport either.
No, it's not. That's just it. But, you know, training, just getting to the start line or committing to the start line as a runner, you're committing a lot of time.
Yeah.
But then as a charity runner, you're doubly committed, because it's just as much a full-time job to raise money as it is to train and do everything else in life.
Yeah, and if you look at the statistics, if you turn up at the finish, sorry, for instance, but if you turn up at the start line, you're going to, damn good chance you're going you finish.
Right.
You know, those who look out the window and think it's raining, it's snowing,
Right.
like Boston.
Yep.
They think, oh no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Then
Just get to the start. Yeah.
Get to the start, prepare yourself mentally, and get on with it.
Yep. Yeah, we have a couple people commenting here. Uma's one of our members. She's running London this year for charity.
Good for her. Good luck, Uma.
Yep. Natalie Dorset. She was our charity runner last year for Boston. She ran for the second step. She's coming, or she's supposed to be running this year in the age group championship in London.
Yeah.
She's representing Trinidad and Tobago. Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Good for her.
Yeah. That's just it. We have a lot of people in our group actually that got the age group invitation.
Yes.
Which was, can you explain it? Yeah, maybe explain what that is, or what, this is the first year that you guys.
It's really, I think they should direct that to Abbott's, because it is the Abbott World Championship, and so they take the qualifying times, and you either get selected from the information you provided by the Abbott World Major website.
Okay.
You get selected, or you can apply. But I'm hoping once we get through all of this, they will continue to do that. And I think it's a nice achievement as well.
Right. Now, is it going to be a different major each year, or is it always going to be London, or they don't know?
No. I mean, I think it also depends on the course as well. The opportunity would be for Chicago or Tokyo or others to do that. At the moment, it's just handy. It's London. So yeah, we'll wait and see. So I wish those people who are doing that the very, very best. I may see them on the start line.
Yeah.
I certainly won't see them at the finish line, because they would be back showered and celebrating.
Yep. Yeah, we've got Susan Barron. She's going and running the age group championships too. So she was invited. She's a member of our group. They're all just commenting on the page right now as we're talking here.
Good. Well, I wish them all well. I suppose that what I'm interested is how people going to train. So, for example, if Berlin hadn't been cancelled, people will be starting to be considering where they would be with their training plans. I don't know where you are in terms of how they say an hour's exercise in UK. Well, you're not going to get considerable long distances in that period of time. How's that affecting Boston Buddies to get long distance runs in?
It depends. Every state's different right now.
Okay.
Some of them don't have any restrictions at all. Like where I'm at, we can go outside for exercise. You just can't be in a large group.
No.
There's no restriction on time, really.
Yeah.
And if you do go, if you're going with somebody that's not in your household, you just have to stay. You're supposed to be socially distant from them.
Yeah. So I suppose it's challenging for all the race directors, be it in New Zealand, Singapore coming later on in the year. Will they have a marathon in Singapore with where they are at the moment? But there's some, I look at Mike Nishsi. If you should invite him into the Boston Buddies.
Okay.
He's kind of behind Kerry Polanski, but he's a phenomenal chap. He is a real expert in his field of road running, and he was behind changing the Chicago course. So really, really nice guy, really highly skilled and experienced. Some of you guys will know Mike.
We'd love to have him.
And then of course you've got, New York, 50,000 runners.
Yep.
With Peter Chashar now gone, and yes, there's some really good race directors. Hugh Pracer at London. You've got,
Peter's a Boston buddy. He's in our group. He pops up every once in a while. He's a nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Peter's a rock star.
Yeah. We've got Sean Abbott, he just commented. He said, "So excited for London whenever it is run. My sixth star, running for charity and in the city where my parents met. He's running in memory of his dad, who ran his first marathon at age 61." So there you go.
And you got to say to ourselves, people when they're running marathons, they all have a cause. It might be a PB. It may be, like as we we're just saying, the memory of his dad through a charity. And the thing about London, like the other races, you can be running next to a pop star, an MP, a policeman, a nurse, a school teacher, a club runner. So everyone comes in running. There's no barriers. We are, with our bib, a runner. And that's the philosophy, isn't it? We come together as a running community for a variety of reasons, but the end result is crossing that finish line with a medal and having those memories. And I can remember running London the other year, and I was running along, and this guy was running next to me, and he said, "Do you want a jelly baby? Sweet." So that's very kind. You sure you got some spare? Anyway, cut long story short, we started talking. Now, this was an individual who had been made redundant 5 years ago in the north of England.
Okay.
Couldn't find a job. He was suffering from depression and got into running. And he runs London, and it's their holiday. 2 girls and his wife. They come to London, they spend a few days going around the sites, and that's his race. That's his once a year.
Yeah.
And I never saw him again. You know, he just said bye, and he was gone. But for a moment in time, and Boston buddies, think about that. You're running, maybe with someone. For a moment in time, you're sharing someone else's life. You may never see them again. But for that moment in time, there's a togetherness, which, very special memories.
It's hard to explain to people who haven't done it. You just kind of have to experience it. You know, there's people will be watching this that may not have run a marathon. It's different. And that's kind of, I think, what draws this group together. We've experienced that. Yeah.
At 68, you know, okay, I wasn't 60, but anything is achievable. If someone says to me, you know, with prostate cancer, the chances aren't good. You may not walk again after a climbing accident. It's the framework of where you put your mind into it. If you put your mindset into it and set yourself small goals, anything is achievable.
Yeah. I watched that Jimmy Valvano speech. He was a college basketball coach from NC State, and he had cancer. He passed away from cancer, but before he passed away, he won a national championship, and he was getting an award from ESPN. And his speech, it's a pretty famous speech if you Google it. And then his message basically was never ever give up, never ever give up.
And I listened. Forget about what your politics are, but I listened to the eulogies and some conversations of John McCain, the Vietnam veteran. And I listened to him and his integrity and what he had done with his life. Forget about his politics, but what he was about as an individual. And thank you. I've got my friend come back.
Okay, your dog. Yes, hello.
Oh, hello. You've been out. You've been on your walk. This is Sky.
Sky's going to steal the show.
Sky's an ex-police dog, aren't you? Yeah, I know, but we're talking. Go on, in your bed, please. There she goes. So yes, what else can I give value to? Because I don't want to bore people, and time is short.
No, I think you're doing great. I did want to ask one thing, because you were a climber, and you've climbed Everest. Yep. It looked like you were only one of 2 people that made it the year that your expedition went there out of 15. What was harder, climbing Everest or doing all 6 marathons?
Well, I don't I don't look to the past. I always look to the future.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a saying, isn't there? Put your medals on the table. That's war medals or good service medals or whatever. It shows that you've done something. Climbing was another part of my life. I lost many friends, tragically. Bad memories, bad experiences. It's a high risk sport.
Yeah.
When you climb, there is always that level of danger. You climb within your ability. When you go high altitude climbing, today it's a different game. You can go up to Everest as a part of a package deal nearly now.
Right.
And people will get you up Everest $50,000 plus. So I don't look back. I mean, you go to Everest, you've got to get up and down as quickly as you can. You know, it's Death Valley. You know, it's a hard sport. In those days, it was a different clothing, different ball game. I've got photographs, but I don't kind of reflect on that moment of taking it all in. It was a mode of survival. So if I look at my achievements in running terms, accomplishing Boston in 2018 was a special time. Not because, you know, there was a high percentage of people dropping out, but what reminded me is that those people who came out on the streets.
Yep.
You know, just before you come onto Boyden Street, I call it Poncho Alley because all the ponchos were there. And
that's right. Yeah.
Everyone taking them off because vanity kicks in. I've got to really look good on the photograph.
Right.
Where's my comb? You know, makeup. You know, it's pouring down with rain.
Right.
I've got to get on Boyden Street.
Right.
To look good. So I can look back at running all the world majors with great fondness and taking into account the training I did, the people I met on those races. So those are the memories I have. So achievement-wise, I think I've done okay. Not the fastest, but, you know, I achieved what I set out. Prostate cancer, I need something else to take my mind off it. And so what? I'll run some marathons. And I've been very fortunate and very blessed.
Right. Yes, you certainly achieved a lot. And then, you know, 6 stars in 17 months, going from nothing, no running to that is a great achievement. How many people can say they've done that?
I'm doing it again.
And doing it again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's impressive.
And of course, you see the marathon because I do a critique on each race. And you see how they've changed and tweaked it and things you can pick up and learn. I mean, as you know, Chicago's changed its course. Right. So there, it's, good experiences.
Yep. No, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. I realize, you know, this is a trying time for you, and you know, we're all thinking about you.
It's not a trying time for me. You know, the staff at the London Marathon, supported by the board and trustees, it's about ensuring the name of the London Marathon continues in the core values and the pillars established by Chris and John. But we want to give our runners an experience that they come to London and can say, well, you know, Chicago's my city and I like Chicago Marathon best. Right. But we give those runners an experience that they can go away and say to people, I ran London and it was a good day or a good weekend.
I look forward to it. That's why I want it to be my finale for the 6 stars. I want it to be a big celebration.
We'll be there to welcome you across that finish line in.
I love it. I love it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time out again today. Hopefully everything goes okay with your mom. Our prayers are with you and your family.
My mother has had more comebacks than Boris Johnson. You know, my mother, you know, as a young woman, went into occupied Germany. Sorry, occupied France. Acted as an operator. Hard woman, in the sense of survival. So if she decides that she wants to fight it, then we'll see. But thank you for your thoughts and best wishes and blessings. Can I just say to Boston buddies, keep the faith, keep the training, and if things are dark, think about those people in those COVID-19 wards who may not be blessed. If you have family and friends or colleagues with it, I send my best wishes to them and to you. And I wish you all a very, very pleasant day. It's now 6:15 here in the evening. The sun's just going in, but my thoughts are with you all. Have a great night.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Puts it all in perspective. Again, appreciate everything you do for the sport and the charities. And put in a good word for us with Prince Harry. See if he can join our club.
Well, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.